Whether you're advertising for the first time or you're looking to create a new acquisition channel or maybe test out a new platform, the million-dollar question is always,
how much is this gonna cost?
or in other words, how much do I need to spend before seeing results without just pouring my money into a bottomless void? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you a proven step-by-step framework to plan your media budget with more confidence and clarity so you don't have to set your hard-earned cash on fire. And a quick spoiler alert here, there is no magic number. But what I'm gonna do is show you how to accurately plan out a budget, and it's critical you follow each step on this video unless you wanna end up wasting a ton of money. So let's get straight in. So step one here is that we need to intimately understand our LTVs or average customer value, and also potentially our profit margins before we even think about spending any money on that next ad campaign. Because this is going to allow us to create some guardrails and a target cost per acquisition. So we already know how much we can afford to spend to profitably acquire that customer. This may sound obvious, but it's an easy thing to overlook when you start running a new ad campaign. Let's take two businesses. Business A is an e-commerce store with an average customer value of £20 and around 50% profit margins. That means realistically, they can only afford to spend up to £10 to acquire that customer and just break even. Let's say we've then got business B on the other hand, which is a service business who has an average customer value of around £20,000 and profit margins of 40%. That means business B can spend up to £8,000 to acquire that customer. This is where we're going to be setting our target cost per acquisitions, so we know how much we can spend at most to acquire a customer at break even.
Hang on, why would I want to break even?
Now obviously the goal here isn't to break even, but the idea behind this initial exercise is to give us some guardrails and let us know what we can afford to spend up to. Because realistically with most ad campaigns, we're not going to be hitting a huge return on ad spend out the gate.
See, I'm bitterly disappointed.
But if we've got something where we're breaking even or making a little bit of money, that means there is some scope for improvement there. We now know we've got a campaign that we can work with. All right, so step two, we need to understand the variables that are going to impact the success of our campaign. This step is absolutely critical so you know the different levers you can pull in order to get your campaign working with maximum profitability. All of the fastest growing companies out there understand these variables intimately because it allows them to quickly identify and unplug bottlenecks to maximize profit and growth. So variable number one is going to be the audience that we're targeting. For example, are we targeting the right keywords if we're using search campaigns? Are we targeting the right audience stacks if we're using social like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And then even with keywords, there's a layer deeper to this because you have to remember there are different levels of intent behind certain keywords. For example, somebody searching for SEO is going to be a very different level of intent than somebody who's typing in best SEO agency near me, which shows that that individual is actively looking to engage with an agency near them. On the other hand, if I'm just typing in SEO, there's a very good chance it's just an informational search and I'm far less likely to make an actual buying or inquiry from that search. And this is the trap a lot of businesses fall into, is they target what they believe are the right keywords, but then they end up getting a load of wasted clicks on their ads. Variable number two is going to be the ad copy or the ad creative itself. So let's look at a couple of examples here. Let's say we've got a Facebook ad running, and on one end of the spectrum, we've just got a terrible ad that is boring, it blends in, it looks like all of the other ads out there, so nobody clicks on it. On the other end of the spectrum, we can have a crazy, bold pattern interrupt ad that grabs people's attention, but it's incredibly vague and people don't even really understand what the ad is about. So we get loads and loads of clicks, we get really excited as a business, but then nobody is converting because people are just clicking out of curiosity and we're not necessarily getting the right people. This is where with ad creatives, it's such an important factor because there's a huge degree of nuance in getting that perfect balance of the curiosity and having enough of a pattern interrupt to stop people scrolling on their feed, but also having the clarity and specificity in terms of the messaging to make sure that this is calling out the exact right audience and they know what they're clicking on, so that you as an advertiser don't have to waste your budget. And now finally, variable number 3 is going to be the landing page and subsequent user journey after we've got these people to click. Now I've got a whole other video on conversion rate optimization, which is going to be coming up after this one. I'll also link to it in the description below, but a couple of key things you'll want to think about here. Is there congruency between the ad itself to the page that I've landed on your website? If you're talking about a particular offer, a particular service that you can offer me, don't just send me to the home page on your website and let me find that myself, because chances are I'm just going to bounce. Instead, send me through to the relevant page. This is such a common mistake we see with advertising, and businesses are wasting thousands upon thousands doing this. Other factors are, does the website convey trust? Does it build credibility? Does it show that you understand the pains or the problems that I'm currently looking to solve? Are there transformational stories or testimonials on the website? I mean, just look at the difference between these two websites. Which one would you realistically go with here? This is exactly why huge companies like Netflix spend millions of dollars every year investing on A/B testing and split testing. They run split tests on their thumbnails, their sign-up processes, all areas of the customer journey, because it leads to more clicks, more views, and ultimately more revenue for the business, for the same, if not less, spend on advertising. Okay, so step number 3 is understanding the average CPCs and CPMs of the platform we're looking to advertise on. If you're not familiar, CPC stands for cost per click, and CPMs is cost per 1,000 impressions. Now, with most digital ad platforms out there, so Google, social media platforms, your CPMs and your CPCs are generally going to be dictated by the amount of other advertisers bidding for that particular placement, keyword, or target audience. And these CPCs and CPMs are typically going to vary depending on the customer value, because that's going to dictate how much somebody is actually willing to pay to get a click to their website. For example, you'll see keywords in like the legal or the insurance space where they're very high value customers. They can often have a very high cost per click. On platforms like Google, you can see certain keywords upward of £10 or £20. Whereas a low value item, something like a toothbrush, for example, you're going to see a much lower average cost per click, because no business is going to bid higher than that for that click, because it just doesn't make sense for them to do so, because otherwise they're going to make a loss. Now, most of these platforms will allow you to do manual bidding, but a lot of the time this is actually handled automatically by the platform, and they go in with the recommended bids for you. It's also worth bearing in mind that because of how this bidding system works, there are going to be certain industries that are affected by seasonality and certain holiday seasons, for example, where we might have a lot of shopping taking place, events like Black Friday or Christmas, where the costs are going to rise because there's more offers and more competition coming onto the platforms to advertise. Most ad platforms now have a built-in forecasting tool that will give you an idea based on your targeting criteria of what the kind of average costs are going to be for targeting those specific keywords. For example, Google has their own Google Keyword Planner where you can put in your target keywords and it will give you an estimated cost per click. Platforms like Facebook or LinkedIn also give you forecasted numbers when you're building out the ads within the campaign managers. So this is how you can now start getting a rough idea of what those CPCs and CPMs are going to look like for you. So now that we've got these numbers in place, we need to begin to map out and build a hypothetical scenario so we can start to plan out our media budget. So let's dive into my laptop and we'll walk through this together. Okay, so I'm going to link to this document in the description below this video so you can download a copy of it for yourself. You'll just need to click File and then make a copy at the top so you've got your own version of this which you can then edit and plug your own numbers into. So first thing you'll want to do, you'll notice that there are tabs at the bottom We have a tab specifically for lead generation businesses where you're converting a lead from the website, and that sale maybe then happens offline or through some nurturing in your CRM after you've converted that lead. And then we've got another tab for more kind of e-com style businesses where you're driving traffic and people are checking out and paying directly on the website. So choose whichever one is relevant to you and your business. So all of the green cells on this spreadsheet are the ones that you can edit. Any ones that aren't green, you don't want to touch these because these are formulas that are being calculated from the inputs you put into the green cells. And don't worry about some of the other bits on this spreadsheet. We don't need to use that for the purpose of this exercise. This is really just going to give us clarity on whether or not a particular campaign or a budget that we're looking to allocate to a particular campaign is actually going to be viable and will even be able to bring us any sort of results. Just a quick note here, we're in the process of building a new platform that is going to allow you to run these kind of numbers to simulate sales funnels, marketing campaigns, and project out the potential profitability of those campaigns effortlessly in just a few clicks. So you can launch new marketing campaigns with more confidence and more clarity and give yourself the best chances of making these work. If you want to sign up to the waitlist and get an exclusive discount when we launch, you'll find a link below this video to sign up. So let's just go through an example here on a lead gen business, right? So the first thing we want to do is put in from the previous exercise we did, what are the average cost per clicks we're looking at? So let's say we'd found a bunch of keywords that we want to target on Google Ads, and we found the average keyword cost per click was forecasting around £2.50. And let's just say hypothetically, we're willing to put £1,000 a month behind this campaign. That means with a £2.50 cost per click and that £1,000 a month in ad budget, we will be getting approximately 400 visitors a month to the website. Now we'll want to plug in the conversion rates. And this is where if you've got an established business where you've already got some acquisition channels set up, you'll probably have an idea of what these numbers are. If you're a brand new business, this might be a little bit more difficult and you're going to have to kind of give it your best guesstimate. Now, to give you some benchmarks here, most websites will convert between 0.5% to 3% of visitors. Now, there are obviously going to be lots of other variables at play here in terms of the level of intent of the visitors that are coming through to your website. How good are you at building trust and credibility and all those other variables that we talked about previously. But to be on the safe side, you might want to play this at 0.5% to begin with. But let's say you're an established business, you know your approximate conversion rates, and you've got a high converting website where you're able to convert visitors at around 3%. That means from those 400 visitors, we're now going to be getting 12 leads from that. Next thing we want to do is put in a lead conversion. So this is almost like the qualification process. So out of those 12 leads we've received, how many of those are actually good fit customers who we can sell to? Let's say around 60% of those. So now we're left with 7 prospects who we can actually sell to. Now, obviously, this phase is going to vary. For some businesses, you might have 100% here because out of all of those leads, they go into a back-end lead nurture sequence and they can all become potential customers. And maybe this conversion rate is just going to be that back-end conversion. For other businesses, maybe you sell to people over the phone, in which case, again, we'll want to say how many of the leads are actually qualified. And then this customer number here would become that sales conversion rate. So now we've got 7 prospects that our sales team are talking to. So what's the average close rate that our sales team have? That's what we're going to be putting in here. So you can flex with these numbers depending on how your business model works. So if we assume here in this example that we've got a sales team, they've got around a 30% close rate from existing website leads. So that means from this traffic source, we should be getting around 2 sales per month. Now, under here, you're then going to be putting in the average order value or average lifetime value of your customers. So let's say in this instance, it's £10,000. You then have the ability here, if you want to put a gross margin, like a profit margin. I'm just going to leave this at 100% now, just to show you how this document works. If you're then working with an agency, you can put in any management fees or freelancers, any other overheads in this section here. So you'll see what this is telling us is we're going to get about 2, maybe even 3 sales a month So we're going to be making around 20 to 30,000 pounds from this campaign. So if we then come down to the bottom here, you'll see that these actually look quite healthy. So when we take the profit that we're making from these sales, and then we obviously minus the spend that we paid there, we could be making potentially around 20k in profit per month from this particular campaign. Now, let's say on the other hand that when we were doing our research, we found that all of the good high intent keywords that we would actually want to bid on were actually more expensive. So we're going to make this £20. You'll then see that that significantly reduces our profit. And now let's say maybe we're a brand new business, we don't really know what our conversion rate is, so let's play it safe. In this instance, we're going to end up losing money, right? And actually, when you look at this with the budget we've got, this isn't even really going to be a viable strategy with that kind of cost per click. Because if we're only spending £1,000 a month, and we've got a £20 cost per click, we're only really going to be getting 50 visitors a month to the website. So this is a really important exercise to go through to even plan the viability of these campaigns in the first place. But this then also comes down to the realistic budgets that you want to be setting. Because technically speaking, on a lot of platforms, for example, like Facebook or Google, you can actually set tiny budgets if you wanted to. You could run ads with £1 a day on Facebook. The thing you have to bear in mind is that it's just going to take you longer to learn. So if we're only spending £1 a day, again, depending on what cost per clicks are, let's say we have a £1 average cost per click on Facebook, but we're only spending £1 per day. And if we divide that over 30 days, we're going to be spending about £30 a month. That means we're going to be getting 30 clicks a month coming through. And if we've got an average website conversion rate, even then, we're not going to be getting any leads. It might take us 10 months before we even see a single lead on this website, right? So you just have to be realistic in thinking, okay, you can spend a tiny budget if you want to. It's just going to take you longer to learn. And this is often what it comes down to, because we're very often asked by customers, well, how much should I spend? And my response is usually, well, how quick do you want to learn? How quick do you want to optimize? Sometimes in this instance, it's not even going to be worth doing, right, at this kind of rate, because it's just going to take us way too long to learn. On the other hand, if we're spending £2,500 a month here, with these kind of numbers, we should be getting about 25 leads a month. So actually, we'll probably be able to start getting a sense pretty quickly of, are these the right people? Do we need to change the messaging in the campaigns? Can we optimize the conversion rate on the page? So it really just comes down to how quickly you can get in that data to how quick you can start optimizing and testing. But you will be able to see very early on is you might just be way out in terms of the budget you can afford to spend and the average cost per clicks for what you're looking to target or the platforms you're looking to run ads on. So this is why it's really important to go through this exercise, because it will give you that clarity on whether or not this option, this channel, is even viable for your current circumstances and your current budget or resources you have available right now. So now that you've got your target CPA, you've run the numbers and you've got a bit of a forecast in place, all that remains is to put our test scenario into play, track the data, identify the bottlenecks from the variables we talked about in step 2, test, iterate, rinse and repeat.
Well, that's all well and good, Tom, but how long should I do this for?
Well, I hate to be cliche, but how long is a piece of string? Because here's the reality of the situation. We've had clients where we've set up new ad campaigns, we've hit a home run straight out the gate, and we're getting huge returns on ad spend literally within the first month. Now, it's worth saying this is very rare, and usually it's going to take at least several months of testing to get a campaign working really profitably. We've then had other clients where we've been working together almost a year at break even, sometimes even making a loss on campaigns before we found that perfect combination of creatives, platform, audience targeting, customer journey, landing page, got all those variables in place to getting something that's then working profitably. So the truth is, there is no wrong or right amount to invest here, or there's not necessarily any wrong or right amount of time. Some businesses might be willing to spend 5 times their target CPA to test a new platform. For other businesses, they might be willing to spend 20 times that. It comes down to what makes sense to you as a business. What is the position you're in? Do you have profits coming in from other channels? Or is this a brand new business where you're on your final lifeline? What you want to be doing though is looking for signs of life along the way. If you're investing thousands or tens of thousands every month into advertising and not seeing any results, you should probably stop. But if you start seeing gradually that your return on ad spend is increasing, you're looking at the data, you're able to learn from that data, adapt, find where you've been going wrong, and you can see that you're going on an upward trajectory, then that can give you the confidence to continue investing. But ultimately, of course, you're going to have to draw the line somewhere, but that's going to come down to you. But as long as you're clear on the numbers and how much you can afford to spend to acquire that customer, it then puts you in a position as a leader in that business, whether you're in the marketing department or whether you're running the business, to be able to set how much you're willing to invest in this new strategy, in this new campaign, or on this new platform before you eventually call it a day. So now that you've mapped out your forecast and your advertising budget, you now need to make sure you're accurately tracking the data and setting clear KPIs to ensure you get that ROI as quickly as possible. So in this next video coming up, I'm going to show you how to do exactly that. I'll see you there.